Sheryl, happy to be here. Happy that you joined our podcast and would love to talk more with you. I'm going to announce you, of course. This is Sheryl Bindelglass, better known as Sheryl Golf. You can say that, you can tell them later, of course. The topic of today is the path to success for leisure centers, because that's your focus. Before we go into the questions, we got a couple of deep dive questions for you. 1 minute. Who are you?
Oh my gosh, that was a tough lead off. I am the industry expert for family entertainment and fun. Anything that has to do with fun, I'm your go-to person.
There we go. And I can say, actually, I can confirm. Yesterday, I just spoke to a guy from the USA. I said, Sheryl, he said, of course. And that's the normal conversation that I have. Happy that you're here. Would love to hear more about what you do, about your knowledge, and what your advice would be for the leisure world. Shall we go to the first question?
Awesome. But first, thank you and thank Brick for having me. It is truly an honor and a privilege to be in front of your audience. And hopefully we'll give them some great tips.
I'm 100% sure. We are delighted. Thanks so much. So yeah, to actually straight go to the questions then, Sheryl. Your experience in the leisure industry is quite extensive. You're a well-known name in the leisure industry. We see that on LinkedIn, but also to the people we talk to. But what is it about your approach that defines your success?
Wow. So the most important thing that I bring to my clients is that everything is customized. So it's not that, oh, you worked with a trampoline park last week. Can you just give us what you gave them? Every location I treat as a separate special project. You may have different demographics, a different mix of attractions. You may have different challenges that the person last week did not have. So being in the industry for over 30 years, yes, I know, Steve, you're trying to do the math. I started when I was 5. Okay, so that puts me about 35.
There we go. I was going to say, it can't be older than that.
You're not supposed to laugh when I say that. Maybe we'll make it 40 this year. But all the experience throughout the years is what I bring to my clients so that they can have proven systems that really work and that are repeatable. I think when we started in the industry, there was no Sheryl. So it was kind of, hey, let's try this, let's try that. It was trial and error a lot more.
Yeah.
So now I say, hey, don't make the mistakes we made. Let me get you up that learning curve a lot faster. So we'll go in and we will kind of do a pro assessment, a performance review of their operations, and identify their strengths, areas that they don't need help on, but then a couple of perhaps weaknesses that we can improve on so that they're making more money and it's easier to work your business. So It's really proven systems.
So you say a couple of things, is what I'm hearing. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Customization. So don't take every client as the same one. Customize to their needs and to the market trends, I would say.
Correct.
There was no Sheryl, which means you are the ultimate connector of insights, I would say. And that's where people can go to. Right?
Oh, I like that. I'm stealing that. Connector.
Let's make a tag. Yeah.
I'm writing that one down. Hold on.
Yeah, of course.
I love that. Thank you, Steve.
A new role. And the other thing is that you actually, before you start and give some advice, you don't tell them anything, you research with them. So you say you make a SWOT analysis. Is there an example that you could give from that? Like how you would start with anybody?
So I have probably a minimum of 250 checkpoints that I review.
How many?
And it covers over 250 just to start. And it covers everything from their online presence to their entryway to their, one guy laughed. He goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Why do you have a piece of my toilet paper?" And I said, "Every touch point counts." And he's like, "You're rating my toilet paper." I said, "Well, if a parent does not like your bathrooms because they're not clean, they're going to pick on maybe your toilet paper." Yeah. So it's just everything from their marketing materials. You know, are they giving the right image? Have they taken the time to do a customer journey map? What does it look like for your customer from the very first time they Google you till the moment they step foot and they're actually in front of you?
You take the whole customer journey and don't even forget about the toilet paper.
Great, that's what we're going to focus on, is the toilet paper comment. Okay.
Yeah. No, joking now, but I mentioned that on purpose because you focus on the details. I think that's really important, right? So you can focus on how many people are living here around, what are my segments, but as long as you don't have the right premises, you don't have the right customer journey, and you don't have the right customer experience, you don't count, of course. Yeah, good example. And what? Okay, cool. So and how long does it take before you finish the research with them, and you can actually start providing them with your knowledge?
So some places will do a virtual tour for me. For example, if they're saying, hey, you can't come over to the Netherlands right now, what can we do to just, and I'll say, okay, let's go out as if you just pulled into your parking lot and just walk around and give me a tour. And I might say, okay, Steven, stop. Why is it that you only have 2 trash cans? You realize that people need more trash cans from the time they're at their car to the time they walk in. Otherwise, they're going to drop it on the sidewalk. You know, so every little detail matters along that step 1, step 2. I can do it sometimes just virtual, or sometimes I will fly to a client and do it on site.
Great. But let's say I'm a client and I'm in the Netherlands. I can do it like this as well.
Absolutely.
Great.
And we go through that checklist, and then I will ask to talk to several of your staff members, because they're going to tell me things that they may have never wanted to tell you.
And these are the things I don't want to hear, perhaps, but I should hear.
But you should hear, exactly. And I'm a safe zone. They know that I'm not going to go back and say, oh my God, Lisa just told me that she has asked you 5 times to put a small little baby cup for the younger kids and you won't do it. Why not? And then you're like, I forgot, it was a busy day, and I think I should go back and revisit that.
Great. Okay, if I can, thank you for this answer. If I go back to this question, and you said we do customization, we make a plan together, and that defines your success. Is this your approach? So you're a safe zone, you do the plan making, and you do the thoroughly exercise of investigation. Is this the combination of what makes your success?
Pretty much. What the person said to me, this is just a couple months ago, and I said, oh my gosh, they're absolutely right. They look at me as the undercover boss, you know, that TV show, but for the Family Entertainment Center. And it's all done not to ever hurt a client, but to say, hey, you're leaving money on the table. Do you realize that by not having X, Y, and Z, and it could be just something as people have been asking for a combo package. Can they have a pizza and fun for the entire family?
Got you.
And if you can sell that up front, you get your money before they say, let's just go to another restaurant, or let's just go home. So it's teaching them how to upsell, how to identify where they're leaving money on the table.
But it can be in the process of me opening an FEC and I don't know anything, of me having an FEC going quite well, but I'm like, I'm actually fully booked, but how can I improve?
Absolutely. Right? And you know, it's interesting, because what you just brought out, a brand new FEC, I have a totally separate form for them. It's at least 14 pages of, did you set up this? Do you have this? Do you have a discount for if twins are having a birthday? Do you have all the questions that we were asked over the years? I will now bring out and tell them, you're missing this, 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 and we can improve.
And I would say, actually, if I can add the topics towards your success, is the 30 years experience, right? Because a 30-year experience is life experience, and you cannot Google this.
Oh, so true.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the difference is, you know, if you can Google an answer, you don't need me. But these are things that Google can't address. You can't say, okay, Alexa, how much should I charge for my birthday party add-on cake? And Alexa goes, a cake is available at the tea. I'm like, I didn't ask where I could buy a cake. It's, you know.
Looking forward to eat a cake now, though.
Right, exactly.
If I pin it on your success, it brings them success, right? So that leads me to the second question. So what would you say is your biggest success helping an FEC? And you don't have to mention their names if you don't want to. But what was your biggest success helping an FEC, improving their offerings and increase profit? And how did you achieve the success?
Well, I like that question. Thank you. And one company automatically pops into my head. They had hired me to do their entire corporate store location plus all their franchise locations.
Oh, wow.
Their group sales training. And we started out very basics. I said, even if you've been in sales, let's teach you, the way I look at it. At the end of the program, they were just motivated, excited, and had new ideas. But one person stood out in my mind. She came up to me and said, that was great. I learned so much. My favorite is that you showed me how I can make almost double my revenue. I'm like, I love to hear that. So she said, but I'm at $380,000 for my group sales. I want to be at $1 million. And I said, and I want you to make $1 million. So what are we going to do? And she went through all the things and she challenged me and we asked, and she really embraced every concept, including my 5 by 10. And Stephen's supposed to say, what is 5 by 10?
Yeah, exactly. What is 5 by 10? Yeah, it's my house.
That's how you look at it.
It's my house.
5 by 10 is one of the core principles for growing sales, that every day you're going to make 5 calls, contacts, and connections every single day. So I'll ask somebody, Steve, you do sales for Brick. How many calls do you make and how many do you convert into a sale? So if you're at a family fun center, they might say, for every 5 calls, I book 1 group. Well, first we want to get their conversion rate up a little bit higher. But I said, okay, so if you do that every single day, you will book 5 more groups. 5 more groups times, let's just say 50 weeks, 250 more groups.
That's a lot.
That's huge. Yeah. Well, she took that concept and ran with it. And cool, I got a phone call. Go ahead.
Yeah, you talk about structure, but also giving the structure of how do you go into your week. Do you wait for the sales to come, or do you actively, proactively do the sales, of course, right? And put it into numbers and put it into output.
Exactly. So it was getting them conditioned. It's just like training. If you were going to go to a fitness class, if you only went once, you're not going to get the same results. If you go 3 times a day, not 3 times, 3 times a week, 3 times a day, you'd be exhausted and not have sales. But when you get into that conditioning and that pattern, the first few weeks, it takes a while, but then boom. So on December 13th of that year, my phone rang. Hey, Sheryl, how are you? And we're having this lovely conversation. I'm like, is there anything exciting happening? No. How's your day? I'm like, she's dancing around. And then finally I said, so what's happening? She goes, oh my God, I broke $1 million.
Kidding me.
That was the best phone call I had that whole year.
What was the period that she took to get to this point? From that 5 point towards the 1 million point?
It took her over 2 years.
Well, but it's still a short time if you compare this to no increase, of course.
Right. She wanted to double and then but she said, I wanted to call you 4 days ago, but one of the groups, instead of showing up with 100, only showed up with 75. So I was short by a couple $100. But that to me is an amazing case study, that when you put systems in and you have somebody that you've not only taught, but embraced everything, that you can get to that goal number. Yeah. I will also tell you what's unique, because some people sit there and say, well, I hit $1 million, no problem. This location has no alcohol. So if they had had alcohol sales, she probably would have been $1,250,000 easily.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So that's a great example. And the reason why they hit that success was because they took the principles from the fast track to group sales training and applied them.
I think we just made some millionaires here.
Yeah, we'll make some. So here's the other thing that I had to kind of break them all of. She's the nicest, most amazing person you'll ever meet. I'll introduce you to her someday. But she's so nice that if somebody said, hey, can you come cover the front desk and run the POS, just for me to take a 15 minutes? Sure, no problem. She'd go up and, 15 minutes turned into 30. And I said, that's awesome and great. But if you're doing that, you're not on the phones, you're not making calls, you're not following up. It was costing her money.
Yeah, time management. Yeah.
So yeah, I have this expression, anytime you're doing a task that somebody else could do, you're preventing yourself from doing a task that only you can do. There are other people in that park.
Noted.
Noted. Everybody's writing that one down. I'll repeat it.
Yeah.
Anytime you're doing a task that somebody else can do, you're preventing yourself from doing a task that only you can do.
Clear. Thanks for this answer. We talked about successes now, but I'm going to poke you a little bit because you also see a lot of issues going around, right? Because otherwise you can't be successful. You cannot help anyone who haven't got any issues, at least if they don't know it. So what are the key returning issues that you run into when you start working with a leisure center, and how do you tackle them? So what are the key returning issues that you see most of the time at this time?
So I think the answer has shifted a little bit from a year and a half ago till now.
COVID.
I think in the last 18 months, we'll say, people are so busy, and this is an expression everybody's heard, working in their business, that they don't have time to work on their business because they're short-staffed.
Yeah,
Everybody
worldwide problem.
Is struggling, and they're not focusing on having a strong plan in place. So if I walked in and it was Brick's Fun Center, and I see everybody running around, I said, well, why is there no marketing plan for the next 30, 60, 90 days? I'm like, okay. Sheryl, we don't have enough staff. We don't have time to go back and revisit that.
We have to give drinks. I can't do anything about planning.
Right. I had one owner said, can you call me back at 12 o'clock? I'm really slammed. I said, no problem. He said, sorry, I had to give out all the bowling shoes. I said, I will call you back. I called back. I'm so sorry. I have to go flip burgers. My cook just called out, so I'm back in the kitchen. He goes, try me back at 4 o'clock. At 4 o'clock, he goes, Sheryl, this is the worst day. I said, what happened? He goes, well, I'm talking to you from the bar. I'm now pouring drinks, and I'm not really a good mixology person. So
speaking to an owner.
Sure.
Oh, wow.
When you're understaffed and you're jumping in and doing what you have to do to keep everything afloat, it's really hard to look at some of your other systems. And the one system and strategy that even I didn't have, because we had tons of applications. I had a great marketing plan. I would put my marketing plan up against anybody's. And people are like, oh, marketing, yeah, well, we'll take care of that later. We're busy right now. I had a great sales strategy. Everybody knew what their target was and what they had to do, including my frontline staff. They were salespeople also. What I didn't have, and what most people don't have, is a staffing strategy. Okay. How are you keeping you keep your sales pipeline filled? How are you keeping your staffing filled?
But how, I must say, I have the same question. I mean, we speak to companies worldwide, from the Netherlands to Australia to USA. Everybody says, my personnel is gone. They have different jobs, I guess, and we cannot attract them anymore. So yeah, how do you cope with that then?
You should have been at my seminar that said, how to hire talent when no one's applying.
Sounds interesting.
I will give you the best tip for everybody who's listening. Stop waiting for applications to come in. Everybody's like, okay, if we're not waiting for applications to come in, I want you to be a recruiter. And what a recruiter does is they're out there constantly with a staff and a team looking for great talent. Don't wait for people to come to you. Go out, go to where they're hanging out. Go to where you know there are great people. If my home family will tell you, oh no, we're out to dinner, and she's got that little card. And that card says, at the end of dinner when you pay, you just slide it to the server. Wow, I appreciate great service. You're a rock star. If you'd ever consider changing jobs, please contact me for a confidential interview.
Wow, even when you go for a private owned dinner, you can, of course, meet the right people for your own company, right?
Absolutely. We have Dunkin' Donuts here. I don't know if you have.
Yeah. I've not so many here, but I love them.
Okay. So every morning I would go and pick up, not every morning, but treat my staff to their favorite flavor of Dunkin' Donuts, whether it was a latte or whatever. And this one week, this guy who was at the drive-thru, welcome to Dunkin' Donuts. How can I make? I'm like, whoa. It's 7:30 in the morning.
I didn't have my coffee yet.
Right. So I went up and just a big smile and warm and friendly. And I thought about it because there were too many people behind. And the next day when I went to get coffee and I hoped he was working, I slid him one of those cards. I said, I'm not stealing you from Dunkin' Donuts. If you love it here, stay here. But I'd love for you to come see what we have. He immediately after a shift came down and found me. And then he said, I'm applying. I'm so excited. I said, apply before. This is good news, bad news. The good news is he said, the word on the street is this is the toughest place to get a job. That your staff never quit, that, it's just, you only have 100 people working and you don't have that many that you take from the application pool. And I said, we always hire. Even if I didn't have an opening, if I found a rock star, I would hire them.
Fits the company, not the job comes later.
Yeah.
But this is interesting, Sheryl. This is really interesting news. And I think for a lot of people who are watching this, actually, because I think it's a key returning problem as we speak. It's almost a recurring trend that we low on staff. Don't just put your marketing tools out there. Go out yourself. Just go to the best places where you have service. Doesn't matter if it's the restaurant business or you're buying a refrigerator or whatever. If you see great people that can fit your culture, that's what you say, right?
So you just hit on the key word that I didn't tackle much because everybody's tired of hearing culture. But if you can hire as many people as you want. If your culture is not a great culture and your leaders are not good, they're going to leave.
Yeah.
So focus on your culture, create that culture.
Yeah. Thank you for this answer. I think a lot of people will take this notes here. On to the next one. A fun one.
Okay.
What will be your best practices you always apply to increase online success? So I know that you focus on a big scope of the whole business, right? So starting an FEC, improving FEC or whatever. But they want to have online success. And you don't have to go through everything, but what are the first things you think about?
The very first thing is find a platform that you not only like, but is user-friendly for your guest.
And user-friendly is like the front page. It's like the front page.
The front page, how easy is it to navigate? If it clicks over and I'm trying to book a party, can I easily book it? Or is it not mobile responsive or mobile friendly? How frictionless, and you're going to hear that word over and over, is that experience?
Yeah.
What are you doing to make it so easy? Less steps, less hassle. And by the way, this goes back even to the application and the people. I went on somebody's website and I went to fill out their application. I'm not naming names, but it was an 8-page application. Nobody's doing it.
Wow.
Simple, easy, get the basics and get them hired. So make sure that whatever they're doing online is super easy, super friendly. Make it so, here's an expression, make it so grandma can book a party.
Yeah, okay.
Make it so easy that grandma only has to do step 1, step 2, step 3, done.
Yeah.
And of course, make sure step 4 is pay for the party.
Well, even my mom is now on Amazon, so it should be easy indeed to book a party as well. But then a question, because what I hear from the market, and again, also not saying any names, but often people say, yes, but it needs to be operationally, it needs to fit, right? My personnel needs to be working with it, whatever. And then often you see the focus on operations, which is superb, which is key. But they forget that the online part is actually crucial because that's where the first customers are coming in. Yeah, it's maybe more a saying than a question, but how do you deal with those questions?
So that's a great point, and I think it all comes back to your team training and making sure that they understand when somebody goes and if they're having a problem on your website and they pick up the phone and call, which is not that often, that they supplement and they can make that experience better. So for example, they need to know that your website, your booking, everything that technology ties into your social platforms, that's your staff that's available 24/7.
Yeah.
So you can't afford to pay staff to sit there 24/7 and answer phones, but you can definitely have them take advantage of all of your online options.
Appreciate it. Thanks. Good tip. Thanks for this.
No, my pleasure.
Are you ready for some more questions, Sheryl?
Wait, before we go to the next question, I want you to know that I, as an owner operator, would always go on ours and see, how can I find a problem? That one of the questions we would ask our staff, because we get tons of feedback from our team.
Yeah.
I want you to go on our website and find as many mistakes as you can find.
Oh,
even if the website's been up for a year. Oh,
you mean
did you know that the
you ask this to the personnel of the company to go on their own website? Wow. Okay.
Absolutely. I will give them an instant bonus if they find a typo.
Yeah.
For example, the word "the" had 2-letter E's.
Yeah.
Where? Show me where. I mean, we had a proofreader, but fresh set of eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
They look at things slightly different. So yeah, definitely tap into your team.
Hack your own website. Hack your own website. I like this idea though. Sorry. The next question is, do you have any specific requirements for the centers that you work with to make sure you can help them achieve their goals?
Wow. Steve, what happened to easy questions today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lost them along the way.
Most of them were good. Number one, they have to be coachable. They have to want to receive the information. And it has to be a good match. For example, if somebody says, oh, my father said I had to call you, they do not want to be coached. They're just saying, I'm doing it to check a box. I want them to be adaptable and receptive to new ideas, but I also want them to give me pushback. You know, that's contradicting. That if I say, hey, what if on your go-karts you had a texting program so that they could go play other activities and then come back? Oh, Sheryl, that doesn't work here. Okay, explain to me why it doesn't. We have no cell phone reception down near the go-karts. Well, that's something that I'm saying, that would not work for you then. But here's my solution. What if we can get a booster down at the go-kart so that everybody gets great cell phone reception and it enhances the guest experience? And they'll say, never thought of that. Okay, now we might be able to, it's just, you know what? A fresh set of eyes.
Thinking outside of the box.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No question
and then
about it. I think the toughest thing when I work with new clients is, do you really want to do the work required to make the changes? I don't have pixie dust. I can't just sprinkle it on and every staff member is going to be perfect. So will you do the work that after I've done a training program, that each day when you do your follow-up, and most places now I like to see them do a daily huddle or a pep rally, or do you know what those are? Okay.
Yeah, we have this. Yeah.
Yeah. So at the start of the shift, you know, that requires a little bit of work because the night before you have to fill out the form. Whose birthday is it? Oh, it's Mike's birthday. Whose anniversary is it? What group is coming in? So it takes 10 or 15 minutes the night before to be able to deliver that. And if they say, well, my manager's too busy, then find a captain for your pep rallies. Yeah. Find somebody, and it's just a matter of,
it needs to be prepped.
Getting people, and getting them to delegate. It's hard for me to delegate. It's easier to just do it, which is not a good answer. I'll tell you why in another session, but they need to make sure that they invest not just the time and the energy, but they dedicate money and allocate funds for team training, for motivating, for rewards and recognition. You know, it's funny, I think half of the programs that I put in for different clients include, hey, we never had a formal rewards and recognition program. So that's my short version of a tough question.
Can I ask a sub question on this?
Sure.
So maybe it's an assumption, but I notice sometimes, besides us talking here about the leisure industry, but just in general, the world is changing rapidly, right? So I have the feeling that it's going exponentially, especially digitally at the moment. So the trends are, legacy software is dying out, or they keep up and integrate and keep up with the latest trends. However, sometimes your help can change the whole business, right? So if you consult someone, they need to actually quite change a lot. Then the employees say, ho, we always did it like this. Do you know that phrase? We've always done it like this, so why should we How do you deal with that? Or is this for
That's a
another?
great expression. It really is. But we've always done it like this. If you keep doing it the way you've been doing it, you will keep getting the same results you got.
Answer. Clear.
That's, you know what? If you like the results that you had and you just want to tweak a couple things, that's fine.
Yeah.
But, and it's interesting when I go to conferences and present, somebody will always say, well, that won't work for me.
Yeah.
You don't understand. And I'll say, explain it to me.
Yeah.
And then I'll say, you're right, this part won't, but let's add this other section to it. And they're like, oh, wow, that will work. So it's how open are you? And you know what? Everybody says, change is easy. Okay, you change first.
Yeah.
I'm like, change is not easy. You know, somebody once said, okay, in the morning you get up and you put your right leg in your pant and then your left leg in your pant. So for the next 2 weeks, I want you to put it on first on your left leg and then on your right. And you're like, oh, the first day it's not easy. The second, and you try and revert. But eventually you break that pattern.
Break the pattern.
Steve's going to go back and say, which do I put on, my right first or my left first?
I'm looking now.
Break the pattern. People say, okay, I want you to put your hands together. Well, somebody says, my right always goes on the top. Well, this time I want your left to go on the top. I'm like, no. I'm like, it's the same. It's the same.
Got you. Very clear. We're almost there, actually, Sheryl.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
You thought you had interesting questions. I think the most relevant questions are coming at the last point, of course.
Okay.
Now, taking into consideration all these starting leisure entrepreneurs out there, right? What advice would you give to me, Stephen, if I were to start an FEC in the States or in the Netherlands this year?
Number one, can I do like one or two bullet points under this one? Okay.
Yeah.
Number one, be prepared to adapt, reimagine, reinvent, recreate. When somebody comes to me and says, look at my business plan, I'm like, this is awesome. But by the time they get the ground or the building or the different attractions, everything has changed. I'll say, you know what? That's no longer relevant because 2 other centers put in axe throwing.
Yeah.
So how quickly can you adapt and change? And here's the good news. You know, I want to say almost 20 years ago at IAPA, we were in a session and it had to do with redemption toys, like all the little things you win, the prizes. And somebody said, well, it's so easy because you've got, to the speaker, 300 locations. So you can do this. And then they're like, she said, absolutely not. It takes me 6 months to change out a product because we have to get competitive bids and then we have to go through a testing. You're a single independent location. You can have that there in less than 6 days. So you have a huge advantage. Pivot, you've heard people say, adjust, adapt, modify, do whatever it takes to be relevant. Conference just a couple of weeks ago was all about radical relevance.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing to always improve and change? And I will tell you that on my own property, best kept secret, every week when you would get your paycheck, you had to give me 3 things: an idea, a comment, or a suggestion. Now, the idea was something that a teenager came up with it. I think we should have bubble gum, da da da. And I'm like, okay, no bubble gum on the park. Have you ever seen what that does and all the, okay, that. So, but we would get over 100 ideas every paycheck. The best ideas and comments, they're the eyes and ears of our whole community in our center.
Yeah.
Came in one day and said, a lady said that there's a bee's nest on the 7th hole of mini golf. Nobody else saw that. So we all went and said, you know what? There was the start of a tiny little bit. If we didn't get that, somebody could have been bid, but we get the ideas and input from your team.
Interesting way of collecting feedback and ideas, eh?
Yeah, by doing that, they feel part of the company. They feel that they're the entrepreneur that's helping you out. Like, hey, how about this? They also take pride and do a lot more and give it to you. But it took us a totally different level every other week.
But let's say I want to start a FEC in the US. I'm adaptive and everything. So I have this whole idea. You consult me. It takes a year at least to build the whole premises, right? Boom, extraling is out of the trend. That's where I have to be adaptive for then, I guess.
Correct. And the one thing that I think entrepreneurs get so excited about their project, but they forget about writing down and creating your culture, which is your core values. What do you stand for? Why are you doing it? Thank you, Simon Sinek, for that why. You know, if it's just to make money, that's a bad business model. I mean, it's good that you are going to make it, but I want to create smiles every day. That can be my core thing. And I'm going to do it by ...
Live
so
by
I
it.
think spending the time and doing that, but as an entrepreneur, I'm going to tell you the biggest, did you ask me what the biggest mistakes are?
No, the biggest, what do I have to watch out for indeed? So what advice would you give me if I were to start FEC?
Have an emergency fund. Put off to the side, different bank account, nobody knows about it. Because what I watch everybody do is they build their park and the engineer charges another 20%. The architect's another 20%. Exactly, boom. And then they have this beautiful park, but they have not put the infrastructure in and don't have a great team. They just said, okay, let's say you've got a pulse. Congratulations, you can work Friday night because we're short-staffed. Or my other favorite is that you put a mirror under. You're breathing. You can go work, the redemption counter or whatever. But people forget to spend dollars on their team. And what I tell people all the time is you could build the most amazing park. But if you don't have great staff, that's what creates the experience. That's what gives them that memory. It wasn't that I had the best go-karts. It wasn't that my mini golf was awesome and cool. It was that Amy working the counter says, hey, high five, you're going to get a hole in one. You're going to be dead. How we do, and it's that engagement. That's
the memories. Yeah, I like that.
It's all about the experience. They're not paying for a go-kart ride. And you have to train your staff how to deliver that experience.
Yeah.
So I think the advice I would give is make sure you've got extra money, for God forbid another pandemic or anything else that happens, that you can make it through. There were centers that struggled because they didn't have a rainy day fund.
And the right people.
Clear. People make the park.
Yeah.
People will make or break it. Yeah. And we would be a little bit bold, and I'll tell you this, that we would say, okay, there's a park, a parcel of land right next to us. What are they going to put in that we don't have? And they said, well, what if they put exactly the same things in? I said, we'll crush them. They're like, why? Because our staff. And that's your secret sauce, your staff.
Appreciate it. I hope everybody is noting this as well. Because we do see that a lot of new FECs are actually starting up at the moment, which is great to see. I mean, a lot of people experienced the bad year. Hopefully they can reinvent themselves with the staff and new experiences and adapt to all the trends. Is what you say, right? And for all the newbies, contact Sheryl, I would say. Yeah. For the last question for now, because I would love to talk to you again, and I think there's so many topics to deep dive on and to gather your knowledge of the 30 years. But let's go to agenda. So I believe that's the last question that's probably on the mind of everybody here. What's on your agenda and why do you aim to achieve this year?
So the toughest thing that I did in my own company, and I admitted it from day one, was to get my first book published. I have a couple books, right?
Yes.
So the first book was Pros Guide to Marketing, Your Family Entertainment.
Pros Guide to Marketing, yeah.
Yeah, okay, we like the Pros Guide. And after I finished, I'm like, I am not doing another book. My editor was awesome, and she told me my English is not as good as it should be. But of course, people at IAPA and different said, we need a book on birthday parties. I'm like, okay. You got the birthday party, and I'm like, now I'm definitely not doing another book. Well, we know how that worked out, right, Steve? It's the most popular book that I have. Group sales. Group sales.
There you go.
You know what? you buy the book and you do just one activity from there, you're going to make several $1,000s within the first month or two. So you said, what's on my agenda next? You want to guess?
IAPA?
Maybe. Pardon me?
Is it IAPA?
Well, it is IAPA.
Or is it going to be the new book?
There might be a new book by then.
There we go.
Is this
a hidden secret coming out?
Yeah, it's going to be on recruiting, how to hire, what everybody is struggling with, and all the secrets that I've given my clients who are now getting a lot more applicants because they're using those principles.
This is great news, Sheryl. I appreciate you sharing this now. Sheryl, I enjoy talking to you always. I really enjoyed this talk. I really think we got the right questions, but especially the right answers at the moment. Look forward to talk more if you're into this next time. I think we're going to discuss, and people can ask also what the next topic should be. If you have any reference for a new podcaster, just let me know. But I just want to thank you, and I guess we speak soon.
Well, it has been my pleasure, and I want you to know you're an amazing interviewer. Usually I'll sit there and say, oh no, they're going to give me a tough question and make me like sit out there, and you were very, very gentle and fair. And I think you got the questions that your audience needs. But I love what you just said. Send Steve as many questions as you want. Send me an email if he doesn't, do that as a topic, and I will address that. It is my pleasure. I love helping people. I don't like to see centers struggle. They put all their hard energy and effort in a lot of their life savings.
Yeah, that's it.
We want to help people create more smiles, not just for their guests, but for their staff and for their family.
Let's create smiles. Thanks so much, Sheryl.
My pleasure. Ciao for now, and we'll see you on the next podcast.
For sure.
Have a great day. Take care, everyone.